Can I beat Titanfall 2's hardest difficulty and get a refund from Steam? In case you didn't know, Steam has a policy where if you have under 2 hours of playtime on a game, you can request a refund. So, I need to finish Titanfall 2's campaign on master difficulty, where literally everything kills you in 2 seconds, and I need to do all of this on a fresh copy of the game within a minuscule time frame of just 2 hours. Oh, and just to let you know, this was the hardest run that I have ever attempted. Well, let's see if it's possible. After quickly optimizing my settings, we jump straight into the campaign. Captain Lastimosa, the leader of our fleet, tells me to quickly recalibrate my simulation pod. That way we can enter into the pilot's gauntlet, a sort of virtual reality training grounds where we can test out our skills. To start, we get our jump kit assist turned on, and we can start slide hopping all over the place, the main movement tech that I'll be using throughout this entire game. We also get introduced to wall running, which in tandem with slide hopping can get me from A to B in 2 seconds flat. Next up, we learn how to double jump, something that's going to be extremely useful later on for crossing large gaps. Oh, and mix these 3 together and you get something that looks a little bit like this. Now, we gotta practice our gunplay, which I'd say I get down pretty damn quick. For the final and coolest part of our pilot training, we need to make our way through this giant obstacle course in under 2 minutes, which is no problem for me. Anyway, it was now finally time to start doing some Titan things, which is pretty epic. We just have to call on our Titan for Titanfall, and the sim pod started completely malfunctioning. Maybe I didn't calibrate it properly, but no. Our ship was getting invaded by the IMC, the guys I'm literally getting trained to fight against, and apparently it isn't looking good for us. Oh, by the way, this is where we get to choose the difficulty of the rest of the entire campaign, and obviously we're picking master difficulty. Well, the attack on our ship was unfortunately successful. We had to abandon it in an escape pod and hopefully survive a rough landing on the planet Typhon. We wake up after a crash in an active battle zone and are thrown into the chaos. I don't even know how I managed to stand up after breaking all 24 of my ribs, let alone manage to run around at speeds faster than a fighter jet. Oh, and I almost killed myself for a second time by walking right into the blast radius of my own grenade. I'm just too good at the game. Anyway, we just need to continue on this path until we get... Oh, never mind, one of the IMC's Titans is ready to just friggin' kill me. That's the 3rd time today. But no, we luckily get saved by Lastimosa and his Titan BT. Thank God for the... never mind, they just died. I guess the best we can do is just lie here and play dead till the IMC gets bored and runs away. And that's exactly what we're gonna do. We wake up to the sound of a prowler trying to eat my foot off. But luckily, before anything bad can happen, BT scares them off with his gun. Well, he was alive. We could only hope that Captain Lastimosa was also okay. We quickly run over there as BT falls to his knees and drops Lastimosa on the floor. He doesn't look to be in very good condition. Lastimosa then opens his helmet and transfers Titan authorization from him over to me, a mere rifleman. He knew that he wasn't going to make it, that he would die at any second. And well, he unfortunately did. After burying him in a ceremonious pile of rocks, we take his helmet and put it on. We were now the pilot of a Titan, a Vanguard class Titan no less. It was now up to us to find a battery that could get BT back up to full power. Oh, and also, this is where we find the 2 weapons that we're going to be using for 90% of the game. The EV8 Auto, a fully automatic shotgun, and the R201, a full auto assault rifle. Both of these guns are exceptionally good at destroying absolutely everything. Then, after doing whatever the hell I was doing here, we can do this cool little skip where we run against this wall and jump up here, skipping having to circle the whole way around. Then we can finally put the EV8 Auto to the test against some IMC infantry, murdering all 3 of them in a solid 4 shots. Oh, by the way, the upcoming section is extremely annoying on master difficulty. These soldiers just love to kill you in 2 seconds. So what we do is shoot this guy, run against this wall, then slide hop over this gap and activate one of our cool new abilities, Cloak, to make myself invisible. Then, I don't even know how, but I managed to survive this section. Anyway, we make our way over here, and we can finally gain the ability to double jump, crossing this giant gap easily. Then we make our way to the broken ship where a battery is located, but we die to a couple of tiny little drones. Good thing there was a checkpoint pretty close by, because that would be a pretty embarrassing run killer. Anyway, we make our way through the ship, and finally find the battery that we've been looking for. Then we just backtrack to BT, take down a couple of IMC soldiers, and insert the battery. But he still wasn't at full power yet, we still needed one more battery. Luckily, BT's scans found that there was still one remaining in the other crashed ship, so all we needed to do was make our way over there with some ultra smooth movement. However, the IMC had set up a base right around the entrance of the crashed ship, and this section is pretty damn difficult on master difficulty, but we, instead of killing everyone there, use the age-old strat of running past everything. Anyway, we just need to head through the ship and pick up this battery. Then we can make our way back over to BT. The IMC does try to ambush me with a couple of Spectres, but we can take them all out in just a couple of shots. After installing the final battery needed for BT to function as normal, it was now time to embark in our first Titan. BT quickly sets up a neural link between me and him and goes through his two other protocols, that being to uphold the mission and to protect the pilot at all costs. Now, this is where we get our first little taste of Titan combat. The Vortex Shield, the first weapon that comes online, absorbs all projectiles fired at me and can spit them back at the enemies. The second weapon that comes online is the shoulder-mounted missile launcher that shoots lock-on rockets at anything in your field of view. After a short while, all of our systems had become operational. We'd need all of them online to face the Brute Titan that the IMC had just launched. However, we can defeat him pretty easily. Me and BT got the hang of this ages ago. Anyway, we'd now have to fulfill Protocol 2 to uphold the mission that Lastimosa was sent on, to rendezvous with Pilot Anderson, who went MIA. I'm sure we'll find him eventually. Before we move on, I want to quickly ask you to subscribe to the channel so that I can beat my competitor, Hakita, in subs. We're pretty far off, but I'm sure we'll get there eventually. After running through 45 kilometers of forest on our way to rendezvous with Pilot Anderson, we stumble upon friendly militia titans fighting against the IMC at the foot of some giant toxic waste facility. However, we're not even gonna bother helping. Running straight past everybody, picking up this new Titan loadout called Tone, that I'm gonna be using quite a lot during this run, and disembarking from BT to head through this tunnel. Once we get to this point, we run along this wall, climb up onto this pipe, and turn on our cloak so we don't get shot at. Then we just run across here, jump, slide into the hole at the top of this room, open the flow regulation gates so that BT can move through the facility, and run through this door. We'd now have to make our way through the rest of this facility without getting shot dead, which is surprisingly difficult. Oh, and are you kidding me? Anyway, a little bit further ahead, there's a guy that we need to take down immediately. Missing him even once would probably result in a permanent death sentence for the upcoming section. That kick right there was supposed to kill him, and thanks to me missing completely, we've now alerted every IMC soldier up ahead. However, we can improvise here. Instead of running against these walls like we normally do, we can drop all the way to the bottom and run along here. That way the soldiers have a harder time shooting me. Then once we reach this pipe, all we need to do is get through here without dying, and thankfully, that's exactly what happens. Up ahead is a group of friendly militia pilots, which we're once again going to completely ignore. So, this is the point where we're introduced to a brand new enemy type called Stalkers, and they can kill me almost instantly on this difficulty, so we'd have to be extremely careful around them. Anyway, we get back between these boxes without dying, wait for this giant door to open up, then sprint in and die again in 2 seconds flat. So we try for a third time and activate my cloak so they can't see me. That way I can get up to here completely unharmed. Then we shoot this guy for no particular reason, run behind these boxes, punch this idiot so hard in the face that he freaking dies, and then throw a grenade into this crowd of soldiers. That way we can slide into this room without being obliterated on the spot. Once in here, we run along this wall, then activate our cloak to squeeze through this corridor unnoticed. There were a couple of soldiers trying to ambush me in this room, but I took them out pretty easily. Now, we gotta open up this door, head through this room full of toxic waste, climb up to the top, and get prepared for a pretty cool skip. So what we're supposed to do in this giant room is to shut down the sludge pumps and fight through hordes of enemies until we can get back to BT. But what we can do instead is jump over here, climb up onto these pipes, wait for BT to wander over to me, and then that gives me the ability to embark, despite the fact that there's literally a giant invisible wall right in front of me. So now the only thing I had left to do was defeat Kane, the guy in control of this facility. Now, the cool thing about Kane's fight is this is the first time that we engage in any proper Titan combat, and it's actually pretty damn juicy. Now, the first order of action is to switch my loadout to Tone, which is, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but it's my favorite Titan loadout in the game. Anyway, Kane spawns in a Brute Titan at the beginning of the fight that we can take down pretty easily. Then the strategy here is to shoot Kane with my cannon until my systems gain a lock on him. That way we can fire a crap ton of tracking rockets in his direction. mission. All we'd need to do is repeat this process until he eventually blows up. Now we can open up his Titan and pull this helmet right off of his stupid little head, taking the IMC radio for myself. We could now intercept every single IMC transmission sent and be a step ahead of them every single time. Anyway, it was now time to continue on with our main mission. So we're back on track towards Pilot Anderson's coordinates and are taking a shortcut that BT found to get there. Along the way, we pick up a brand new Titan loadout called Scorch that we're only going to be using once, specifically in this mission. Oh, and Blisk, the guy who killed Pilot Anderson a couple hours ago, starts to chat with a mercenary named Ash on the IMC radio line we picked up from Kane, telling her to kill us at any chance she gets. Anyway, we enter into some kind of weird facility. There's framed trees being transported on some kind of railway system. Oh, and the IMC now knows that I am here. Although these tiny little soldiers can't do much to a Titan. We can literally just stomp on them as we make our way through this place. But that ease doesn't last too long. We get to a point where IMC Titans are ready to kill me. But I mean, we can just ignore them completely and deal with the actual problem. The Titans located behind this door are extremely annoying to take down. 1 second, the insta-kill strat works on them and I can just keep pushing forwards, but all the other times I just end up getting obliterated in 2 seconds flat. The first attempt was unfortunately the latter, but we thankfully got extremely lucky and got a checkpoint pretty close to where I died. Normally the checkpoint would have been set ages ago. We throw 2 grenades in, launch a thermite projectile, and then pull out my thermal shield to get the Titans low on health. Then once our flame core is charged up, we can demolish every last Titan standing. Taking them all out opens this door, and we can continue onwards, picking up a new Titan loadout called Brute that we're going to need later on. We disembark from BT, head over to the elevator control panel that's being guarded by IMC soldiers, die in a really stupid way, successfully activate the panel, leave, see that BT is getting picked up by one of the facility's robot arms, freak out, activate the elevator, and jump off to skip Ash's dialogue and head into the next mission of the game. We start the next mission on the elevator I just jumped off. Don't know how that works, but anyway, we jump off the platform again and slide hop over to this pipe. We're going to have to head along this way in order to meet up with BT, despite the fact that he was literally right there 2 seconds ago. After a little bit of wall running, we fall down here and run over to this open ventilation system that we can slide down. Then we quickly take down these guys and jump over to one of these moving platforms. Now, the cool thing about these platforms is that their speed gets added to my speed, which means that if I, let's just say, jump forwards right about now, I get launched to the complete other side of this section. Then the game does the most diabolical thing you could possibly imagine. It forces me to touch Gronf. Anyway, BT advises that we follow the flow of these platforms, which is exactly what I'm not going to do. Instead, we're going to head over here, build up speed on these walls, and then jump over to this rocky ledge. And then all we need to do is run along this pitch black rock ledge to eventually get to the last section of the mission, skipping everything in between. Now we just gotta stand around in this corner until one of the platforms finally arrives, now with an almost fully built house just placed on top of it. So we run over to this house and hide behind this wall. Then when it starts to move again, I hide behind this couch. For some reason, literally no enemies can hit me here. Once the last sections of the house are installed, the platform starts to move again, and all we're gonna do is stand here for about a minute and a half before I get to my destination. Oh, and if you're wondering why they were building a house on this random platform, well, it's because they were assembling a training dome that we're going to have to fight in. Except after climbing up the sideways platforms, we just hitch a ride on one of them as it starts to assemble the ground of the dome. And then all we need to do is jump through this specific spot, flipping out of the map entirely. As the dome continues to get built, we just run around the outside of it until we get to here. Then we just stand around until the game, for some reason, decides to throw me into the next mission. I mean, I'm not complaining, but I have absolutely no idea why that works. Anyway, we spawn back into a cave that leads us to the outer shell of the simulation domes, except this time it's intentional. We then meet back up with BT and immediately start heading over to the other giant hole in the side of the dome. Squeezing past this IMC Titan, we make our way up this rocky pathway, leading to the simulation dome that Ash is in, the mercenary from before. But we're not actually going to fight her at all. We're not even going to enter the dome. So what we can do instead is use the Brute Titan loadout to fly up onto this pipe. Then we line ourselves up here, disembark, have a 2-second acid trip, then get back in BT, who's also clipped out now. Now we fly up onto this pipe, carefully walk around the edges of the dome so as to not trigger the boss fight with Ash, then dash twice off of these rocks to land on an invisible floor. Then we disembark again, get back into BT, walk across the invisible floor, and fly up on onto these pipes. All we have to do now is hold forwards until the screen fades to black and loads into the next mission of the game. We load back into the place where Anderson was supposedly located. All we have to do is find him and get some answers as to what was going on. But there was something weird about this deserted facility. Something that didn't feel right. That's when my vision started to have a heart attack and I got transported to a completely clean version of the facility I was just in. Then, soon enough, it switches back to normal. Confused, I asked BT what the hell just happened. He told me that there's weird pockets of time distortion littered throughout this place. The IMC were obviously messing around with some time-altering technology before it all came crashing down, destroying their facility. After several more time distortions, we find BT and head into this building, where Anderson's coordinates are located. Although, we find him and get hit with some bad news. He's dead. Somehow, he got stuck in the ceiling and split his body in two. We grab his helmet and give it to BT, who accesses one of the logs stored in it. Somebody named Sarah Briggs orders Anderson to investigate this IMC facility and whatever they're hiding here, but that investigation was obviously cut short. It was now up to us to collect the remaining data needed to find out what the IMC was doing. Shortly afterwards, BT recommends we locate a device on Anderson's other half, detects a breach in the security services building, and creates a makeshift zipline for me to enter it. After we get ambushed by stalkers, take out 2 IMC soldiers from the past, and head through a ton more time distortions, we find Anderson's other half in a, very unfortunate position. But we can grab that device that BT was talking about earlier. Ripping it off his arm, we test it out and find that it's actually a time travel device. One that can go not only to the past, but also the future. After using the device in tandem with our jump kit to make our way through this giant facility, the IMC from the past finds out that I'm here. I honestly have no clue how they noticed an 89-kilogram torpedo of a man flying through their facility at Mach 10. Anyway, we politely join the IMC in the elevator, then travel back to the future to climb up to the top of the shaft. Then we just run through a couple rooms until we arrive at the place where Anderson's first log is located. To be honest, I was just jumping around the room waiting for the guy to shut up, but to explain it to you guys, he had just figured out that the IMC had developed a way to fold space and time, to be used with their so-called fold weapon to destroy our planet Harmony. Not good. After the log finishes, we destroy this sad attempt of an ambush and jump from wall to wall until we reach the second log. Now, this is where Anderson finds out that the power source of this weapon is called the Arc. Something that we're gonna have to stop the IMC from getting. So the entire rest of this mission is basically just making our way from audio log to audio log, trying to piece together the intel that Anderson had gathered before dying. After listening to the final one, where Anderson realizes that blowing up a moon with this thing was just a test, BT tells me that he's devised a plan. It better be a good one. After shooting this IMC soldier right in the back of the head, we travel to the future and meet up with BT, who's being attacked by a pack of prowlers. But they're no big issue to us. We just ignore them, head over to the reactor facility where we travel back to the past, enter this building, and hack this terminal to gain access to the Arc. We quickly run back to BT, who is getting absolutely bodied by the IMC Titans, and make our way over to the Arc, only for it to overload and completely stop time in place. Although, thanks to Anderson's cool little time travel device, it took the blow for me. I could still walk around just like normal. So we jump around this mess of time-frozen ships and steel parts until we reach the core of this giant containment system, the Arc. As soon as we scan and interact with this thing, the energy signature spikes and sends me and everything else here back to a world that abides by the rules of time. Once I wake up, BT advises that we get the data we collected to the militia fleet immediately. So, how exactly are we going to get this information to the militia? Well, we're going to hijack an IMC interstellar beacon to transmit a signal to the militia command fleet. Luckily, a group of militia soldiers have already infiltrated the beacon's control room. The only thing we need to do is get rid of all the stalkers trying to get in, which is pretty easy when you have a missile launcher mounted to your shoulder. Then, once we've taken them all out, we politely ask the militia to open the door and let us in. Now, just simply broadcasting the message through the beacon is currently not an option for us. We'd first need to acquire something called the Arc tool to jumpstart the beacon's power. So we head through this door leading to the substation where apparently an Arc tool is located. We slide down these stairs and make our way through here with some peak movement tech. Now, for some reason, the walls are littered with exposed high voltage circuit boards, something that we don't want to touch. Oh, and also, you know our trusty EV8 auto shotgun that I've had for like 90% of the run so far? Well, we're gonna have to replace it here with the softball, a grenade launcher that fires adhesive rounds, something that we're going to be using in this room. Now on master difficulty, this is one of the toughest rooms in the game, but literally all we need to do is take out these 3 drones with our grenade launcher, activate our cloak, and slide through this door, completely skipping everything here. After some more parkour, we find this giant fan that we can use to launch ourselves up to here to turn it off. Now, the reason we want it off is because the arc tool is all the way down here, in this room. We then kindly take the arc tool from this robot guy and test it out on this fan. Basically, what it does is it can activate and deactivate these super high power switches with ease. Oh, and it can also be used as a pretty useful weapon, but that's later on. For now, we just need to head back to the beacon control room. To get there, we just gotta solve a couple of basic puzzles with this thing, and then get blown through here by the wind force of a category 27 hurricane to end up back where we started. Anyway, now that we have the arc tool, we can activate all of the beacon's power relays, and hopefully get it up and running again. So we head in there, fully aware that the entire place is radioactive, that we need to be quick in order to survive, and activate every last power relay until the power levels of the beacon are at 100%. It was now the moment of truth. We were gonna see if this would finally start working. And surprise, surprise, the stupid thing didn't work. There was an emergency shutdown because apparently there was a fault in the system. Specifically, something went wrong with the uplink targeting module, so it was now up to us to replace it. We get back into BT and head over to the beacon, where he detects a functioning uplink targeting module inside of the massive dish about half a kilometer away. And he says that the only way that we could get over there is by him throwing me. I'm not sure if I'm too happy with that. Well, there's nothing much else we can do, so we get into his hand, and he actually throws me reasonably well. As in, I'm not dead, so yippee! Now we just had to parkour all the way over to that massive dish. The good thing is that we can literally run on the outside walls of the buildings to avoid the IMC soldiers, which made getting through here a hell of a lot easier. That's when we reach our first crane. There's no possible way for me to clear the gap between these 2 platforms, unless I get up onto the top of the crane first. Once we're up here, we can then just slide hop off the top and land on this platform easily. Then we do the exact same thing again when we reach the second crane. The third crane, however, we can just slide hop between these 2 platforms like normal. Oh, and here's another great example of how easy it is to die in master difficulty. I literally get stuck on this ledge for a total of like 1 second and get torn to pieces instantly. Anyway, on our second attempt, we just barely survived this section, then come through here and open up this door. After some absolutely beautiful movement tech and climbing up to the giant dish's control panel, we can move it a little bit over to the right. That way we can actually reach it. It was now a straight shot to the module. We just needed to dodge a couple of enemies and run along here so we can pull the uplink targeting module out of the dish. All we gotta do now is put this thing into the beacon, but we'd first need to make our way back there. Luckily, there's a conveniently set up array of panels that we can manipulate, turning them into a makeshift parkour course. Once we get across, we can enter this building, electrocute these IMC soldiers, and then take their zip lines all the way back down to BT. Now, we just need to take out the remaining IMC infantry by spamming lock-on rockets in their general direction. Anyway, once we've taken care of all of them, we need to make our way up to the top of the beacon. However, the only way that we could possibly get up there is with another throw from BT. So that's exactly what happens. Then we just scale up through the tower for a little bit until we get to the top and can replace the uplink targeting module. However, replacing it automatically changes the trajectory of the dish, which means I would go sliding down into the cloudy abyss. But luckily, BT is there to save me. It was now time to return to the beacon's control room. Except of course, it wasn't going to be that easy. Richter, the professional Arnold impersonator,
Get to the beacon now.
sends down a couple of Reapers and Titans for me to deal with, but they're no big issue. I can take him out pretty quickly. But then, Richter just had to make it twice as long, coming down to kill me all by himself. This was going to be a tough fight. Well, that was embarrassing. Anyway, we finally head into the control room and test to see if the beacon's going to actually work. And what do you know? It actually friggin' worked. Now it was time to join Sarah Briggs to once and for all foil the IMC's plans. After rejoining what's left of the 9th Militia Fleet, we are led on a mission to retrieve the Ark, located at an IMC airbase. Oh, and we're just not gonna talk about that. Anyway, we get ready for Titanfall and then land on the battlefield. Our goal right now is to take down that giant wall of cannons and infiltrate the base. The only issue is that we're playing on Master difficulty, which makes this mission insanely difficult. The good news is that we can use the tone loadout to kill basically everything at a long distance, making me practically untouchable. After sniping and firing rockets at the enemy Titans for about 3 minutes, we finally head over to the wall and take the Titans down up close and personal. Once this tone Titan goes down, Sarah orders me to escort her through the rest of the airbase, which involves even more Titan combat. And this time we can't just hide and snipe them from a distance. Although we don't actually have to kill everyone here, we just need Sarah to not get distracted by an enemy Titan and follow us through this giant door. Once we get in here, we quickly take down this Legion Titan, the tankiest out of all of them, and continue forwards. Then a Scorch Titan drops down, which we defeat after a very close battle. Now, we disembark from BT. You may be wondering why and thinking it's a stupid idea, especially when every enemy here can one-shot me, but it's because normally if you continue past this point as BT, 2 extra Titans spawn in, a Scorch Titan and a North Star Titan, both of which I do not want to deal with. If you run through here as a pilot though, they never actually spawn in, so we just need to run to the end, dodging most of the bullets getting shot at me, and wait for BT to catch up. Then we embark at the very end and avoid fighting 2 whole Titans. Very nice. We can just hop in this elevator with Sarah Briggs and quickly switch our loadout to Ronin. Now the reason why is because in the next area we can activate the Sword Core, which gives us a practically unlimited supply of dashes, meaning I can run past everything again. Oh, and we finally figured out where the Ark was in this base. It was on that giant ship over there, the Draconis. So we had to get over there as quickly as possible, otherwise we would miss our chance at getting the Ark. And well, we were too late. The ship took off before I could even get close to it. But not all hope was lost. It was time to take this fight airborne. Once in the skies, we get a whole new pilot loadout. The Archer, a rocket launcher, and the Spitfire, a light machine gun. For now, we're on a beeline straight to the Draconis to retrieve the Ark. But there's nothing much for me to do yet besides stand around. That's until I receive some alarming distress calls from some of the pilots in our fleet. A Titan named Viper had been taking them down with his shoulder-mounted missile launchers, and we were next. Luckily, we survived the blast, and Barker swoops down to save us, both me and BT. Oh, for some reason, now that we've landed on this ship, I have a brand new weapon called the Double Take, a sniper rifle that shoots 2 bullets at a time. Anyway, Sarah Briggs gives me a new objective: board and take control of the Malta, the giant battleship guarding the Draconis. But there's only one way to get over there. Yep, you'd be correct. BT's going to have to throw me again. Surprisingly, it works out fine for me. Again, I should probably trust BT with this by now. Anyway, the ship we landed on, the 6-4, was going to have to get extremely close to the battleship so I could jump into it. But I mean, with a well-timed slide hop, we clear the gap no problem. Now we just had to fly through here and take this elevator up to the higher levels. Hopefully then we'd find the console that controls this giant thing. As soon as the door opens, we snipe this guy and run over here. Normally I'd have to take out all 3 guns to progress, but for some weird reason, you can sometimes get the 6-4 to board the ship by only taking out the last gun. After dying on the first attempt, we head to the last gun platform again and successfully take down everybody, allowing the 6-4 to board. All we need to do is make our way over to this large hangar area, but the only feasible way we could possibly get over there is by wall running against this ship. Not sure if the physics add up or not, but it's cool as hell anyway. Now we just have to take down every single IMC soldier in this entire room, which luckily only takes about a minute and a half. Then we head up these stairs with the 6-4 and prepare to breach the control room, which gets cleared faster than I can blink. What we need to do now is get to the ship's main console and steer it right behind the Draconis. That way, BT can throw me over there so I can retrieve the Ark. However, we're interrupted by none other than Viper. Although, we're not going to have to fight just him. We're also going to have to deal with 2 Scorch Titans at the same time. But the tone loadout can take those 2 down pretty quick. It was only Viper that was going to be a bit of an issue. His hitbox is pretty small and he constantly flies around, making him hard to hit. The good thing about the tone loadout is that we can shoot a barrage of lock-on missiles, which pretty much hits him every single time. After using our salvo core to absolutely litter the skies with my rockets and shooting Viper a couple more times, he finally goes down. It was now time to get thrown over to the Draconis. All we had to do was collect the Ark from the ship and bring it back to the militia fleet. Easy enough. Except, it seems Viper wasn't actually done with us, body slamming me and BT and carrying us into the sky before BT accidentally drops me. But I mean, at least we're on the Draconis. BT and Viper slam back down onto the top of the ship. BT attempts to body slam Viper, but it gets reversed back on him. Viper then rips off BT's arm and jumps at him. However, the pilot himself was exposed. It was now up to me to take him down. I run over there as fast as I can and unleash a storm of bullets straight into his body as his Titan falls to the ground. BT wasn't looking too good, but he says he's alright, so it should be fine. Now we just gotta get into the ship. We still have to get the Ark after all. So BT rips this hatch open so that both me and him can get in. Then we make our way over to the Ark's containment chamber. BT pulls it apart and asks me to push the Ark out of it for him. So we do exactly that. It was now time to leave, except, you forgot one thing. We're in a ship that's headed straight towards the ground. In a last-ditch effort, BT uses parts of the Ark's containment chamber to shield me from the inevitable crash.
What are you doing?
Protocol 3. I will not lose another pilot. Brace for impact.
As we come to our senses, we see BT, strung up and barely functioning. Blisk and Sloan speak with General Marder about the Ark's delivery, although they technically don't even have it. It's still in BT's chassis. However, Blisk puts a gun straight to my head and threatens that if BT doesn't give him the Ark, he's going to shoot me right between the eyes. BT stays silent, but transfers a message to me through his helmet. Trust me. BT then opens the hatch, the Ark sitting right out in the open. But in turn, BT throws the barrels next to him at a couple of soldiers and blows up the place with missiles. Unfortunately, the plan didn't work. Sloan just ripped the Ark out of him regardless. It was now in the IMC's hands. Then Sloan tears through him with her ion cannon, destroying the Titan who's fought beside me through every trial. BT is gone. We wake up and start walking around. Our only objective at this point is to survive. That's when I hear a familiar voice.
Cooper.
BT! He was still alive, even if just barely. We walk over to him and he pulls out something called the Seer Kit, containing an auto-aiming pistol and a knife. We then take the data core out of the kit to hopefully put it in a newer, functioning chassis. That way BT could live on. Now, it was time to get serious. We had to stop the fold weapon from firing, no matter what. Anyway, we get to test out our new pistol. It literally just kills anything in your field of view, just so long as you're spamming left click. After sliding and jumping our way through this place, we end up here. Now, this place is normally extremely tough to get through on master difficulty, but we can just slide through here and avoid everything. Except I literally get 1 health point away from dying here. To be honest, if I died here, it might have been game over for this run. Oh, by the way, if you haven't already noticed, we only have about 12 minutes of our 2 hours remaining. And it takes about 12 minutes to beat the remainder of this level. 1 death, and it's all over. Anyway, we corner climb our way up here and then call in a Titan. This one doesn't have a data core, so we can put BTs into the chassis and bring him back from the dead. It was now time to destroy the fold weapon. With the brand new Titan loadout we've gained, Legion, we can absolutely obliterate the IMC's Titans with a crap ton of bullets. But the only reason we're actually shooting at them is to get our Titan core to 100%. That way I can switch to the Ronin loadout and activate that infinite dash ability I was using back at the IMC airbase. Now we can just run past everything for the 27th time. That is, until we get to here. The door's locked and the only way to get in is to take down the other IMC Titans here. Or you could just do that, I guess. Anyway, we crouch through this massive tunnel full of IMC infantry, taking them all out with my rocket launcher, and leave through the other side. That right there is the fold weapon. The thing that could destroy Planet Harmony if we didn't hurry up. We disembark from BT once we get to this room to make our way over to the fold weapon much faster. And there waiting for us was Sloan and Blisk. Luckily, we'd only have to deal with one. After reloading the checkpoint quickly to refill my health bar, we switched to the Tone loadout once again and get ready to fight Sloan and a couple of the other Titans along the way. Our strategy for this final boss fight was to take out the little guys first, then deal with Sloan. Now, Sloan's Titan is an Ion Titan, whose core ability is probably the most dangerous in the entire game, the laser core. But we can deal some pretty solid damage with my own salvo core. After that, she runs away and spawns in a Tone Titan and a Scorch Titan, which we quickly need to deal with before Sloan returns with her laser core fully recharged. Although, like the idiot she is, Sloan kills the Scorch Titan with her own laser core and completely misses me. Then we just run out into the beam and shoot a crap ton of missiles at her, which causes her to run away again, spawning in a ton of Reapers. But they're no big issue. We just need to wait for Sloan to come back one more time, and we'd be able to finish her off once and for all. It was now up to us to get this fold weapon destroyed. We had to remove the arc from the injector immediately. However, a blast from opening the panel caused BT's systems to completely malfunction, and we were left out in the open for Blisk to finish me off. But
It's your lucky day, hero. I'm not going to kill you. I don't work for free.
his contract never said anything about having to kill me or BT. Thank God for that. However, the fold weapon was still ready to fire. We hadn't fully destroyed it yet. So BT reroutes all his power to his backup, stumbles over to the fold weapon and climbs into it. We had to sacrifice ourselves to destroy this thing, but I'd do anything to save Planet Harmony. However, as we're launched, BT remembers his final protocol: protect the pilot.
Trust me.
BT had saved me. I couldn't die now. How much time was left? I didn't even know. Minutes? Seconds? The only thing I was focused on was getting the hell out of here because I knew we were running out of time fast.
Move, pilot! I'm tracking you. Keep going. Come on, pilot! Parker, get us out of here!
Pilot Cooper. A lot of people owe their lives to you. And to BT. Barker, set a course for Harmony. Take us home.
You got it.
As the screen fades to black, the achievement for beating the game on Master difficulty finally pops. And now it's time to spam Alt F4 until my keyboard freaking explodes. Now, moment of truth. I hadn't even looked at the timer for the entirety of the last 10 minutes of the run, so did we do it? Did we beat the game in under 2 hours? Just barely. But the final question is, did I get my refund? Yes, I did.